Hey everybody, welcome back to the clinicaltrialsguru.com. Once again, that website address for you is theclinicaltrialsguru.com. It's where we discuss clinical trials in plain English every single day. We talk about relevant topics that potential study participants might be interested in. And today's topic is going to be about IRBs, and more specifically, how a study participant's rights are protected during a clinical trial. So just to look at the big picture, what a clinical trial is, like we've said many times on this blog, is obviously a drug company trying to determine whether one of their drugs works and is safe enough to be marketed out to the public. So they conduct these clinical trials where we enroll study participants nationwide, sometimes worldwide, or around the whole globe, to take part in these clinical trials. So the drug companies, they want to see that their drug is safe and effective. Then you have the FDA, which is the Food and Drug Administration. Their job is to determine whether the drug is safe enough and effective enough to actually get approval to be on the market. Then you have all the research clinics out there that are actually conducting these studies. So the drug companies contract with them, and this also includes the universities who get grants. But more specifically, the research clinics out there, just like my company, South Coast Clinical Trials, we contact with drug companies to conduct these studies. So our job is to enroll study participants, whether that be through advertising or through the doctor's private practice that work with the research clinics, or however we may get the study participants, we try to enroll qualified participants. Now, with all these parties taking place, and all these parties involved, and I didn't even bring up the CROs, which if you're curious, you can look up on our blog. Just search for CRO, and you'll see what it is. It's Contract Research Organization. But just to keep this video simple, we have all these different parties in play, and everyone has a specific task to do. How do we ensure that the study participants out there, how do we ensure that their rights are being upheld and that they're being treated in ethical ways? And in this country, and in most countries, but I'm going to talk about the United States, we have what's called the IRB. That's IRB. It stands for Institutional Review Board. And they are supposed to be completely independent from the research clinics, from the drug companies, from the FDA. They consist of an independent panel of experts. And every single protocol, every single clinical trial has an IRB committee that is overseeing that particular clinical trial. So if you're in a clinical trial, there's an IRB involved, and they're watching out for your rights. And how do they do that? They make sure that no unnecessary harm may be given to the study participant based on how the study is designed. So they always look for the safest possible way to execute a clinical trial. And they make sure that the clinical trial protocol consists of the safest possible way to conduct that study. So if there's two options, if there's ever a case between an option where we're going to do this particular procedure, but we also have an option where we're going to do this procedure, and one is more safe and the other is more risky or more dangerous, the IRB's job is to make sure that the drug company chooses the safest option, if there's ever a choice. Another way IRBs protect study participants' rights is they make sure that advertisements that are out there are not misleading. So they look for words like treatment. Anyone who uses the word treatment in a clinical trial ad is not allowed to do that. Every single ad has to go through an IRB. So they make sure that there's no therapeutic misconception involved, and they make sure that a clinical trial is always advertised as what it is and nothing more than just research. And also they make sure that you cannot enroll people who are economically disadvantaged, or people who obviously cannot make decisions on their own, and that you do not forcefully enroll anyone, like prisoners or children. So the IRBs, that's what the IRB's job is supposed to do. But for the most part, for 99% of the population out there who's interested in a clinical trial, probably the two biggest things IRBs do is make sure that the most safest option of the protocol is chosen for every study, that the safest possible protocol is the one that's being done, and that there's no misleading advertisements out there. And we've done previous posts on IRBs, but we've been getting a lot of questions, so I decided to make a new video. But if you want more information about IRB, just do a search on our blog for IRB, and you'll see more about it. So let us know what you think. Let us know if you have any questions or comments. It's theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Thanks a lot.